Imagine a young man comes into some trouble, ends up spending 6 years in prison. He's into his 20s and didn't do anything more than many of us have done. And if you knew the story and could sit there and say, I never did that, you know somebody that has, and you are thankful that their outcome was different than this young man's. He comes out, he's full of life, full of energy. He's ready to go. He's been waiting a long time for this. Gung-ho he is. I took him on as basically a client, but I was quickly pulled aside and I was warned and I was told by my mentors that this individual is probably going to end up back in jail. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? He's full of life. He's full of energy. He's been waiting for this. He's here. He's doing everything he has to do, and he's doing it right. There's no way. No way. And of course, you know, because I'm telling this story, I got that phone call. It was just a short few months after I got that phone call. And this is what it sounded like to me. I think I'm going to violate. It'll just be better for everybody. I'm thinking, everybody, this is thoughts in my head. Everybody, it's only you and your grandma. You have nobody. You've got nobody in your life. I'm thinking this. You've got nobody in your life. But you're going to violate because it'll be easier for everybody. As quick as that thought came and went, I heard this. I want my grandma to have her life back. This is too hard for her, and I can manage in prison. My heart about stopped. I'm freshly out of the hospital. I've gone through all this stuff. I've made it my way to become an advocate. But when I got out of the hospital, I had as many people supporting me and more than when I went in. I had experiences that not many people had the opportunity to have. And this young man stood here, or not stood there, but on the phone with me, is telling me he wants to go. Because the one person that took him in and communicated with him on the outside, he doesn't want to put through the terror anymore, all the upsets, whatever. He don't want to put his grandma through that kind of hell. The next morning I went. The next morning I marched right into that parole office, got in front of his parole officer. She was new. She had just taken on his case from a senior agent, and I told her, I want this individual placed in this housing unit. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. And that's all I needed to hear, and that's what I wanted to hear, because when she said he can't live there, I asked her why. It was a simple question. There's a blanket. There's no parolee that's allowed because they just can't. It's not an individualized thing. It's just that if you're a parolee, you can't be here. She couldn't do nothing. She knew she couldn't do nothing, but she got up. She left that little office. She walked right around, got into the next office over, and I could hear the conversation from where I was. Now, she's telling her superior, the branch supervisor, someone who I have worked with several times, she's telling her what I've said. And this is what I said. This is what I heard. It sounded like maybe the senior officer was maybe on the phone, kind of busy with something, and she stopped and she said, if that's Ed Cook in your office, you let him do whatever he wants. That's what she said, whatever he wants. And I did. I call that transitional housing. I got this gentleman placed into transitional housing where he was deemed homeless at the federal level while he was on parole and now qualified for services. That's the type of independent, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about least restrictive independence. And that right there is maybe one of the greatest stories I could tell. I got a lot of them. I've been in a lot of different situations. I've been called on by the courts in cases with persons with closed head injuries where they fall into the cracks because they don't have a mental illness. They're not a person with a developmental disability. They got a closed head injury and there's not much help out there for them. I've been called on by the courts to help negotiate outcomes there. I've worked with the Michigan Department of Corrections, with the regional manager, the Tri-County manager or the Tri-County supervisor. I worked directly with them, providing supports. I worked with my local parole office, the probation office, with their agents. I've worked with our CMH, with their case managers, their recipient rights officers, supervisor level. I've worked with their specialized teams. I've been involved in so much advocacy for the rights of others that I could tell you stories like the one I just told nonstop. I can't do that because that's probably one of that you heard that story because I can tell you that story with good conscience. The rest I have actually sought counsel from I've sought counsel from a professional, a psychologist with lots of experience, and we're right now trying to figure out how I can tell my stories to the most reality it can be without violating the protection of the people that I stood up for. Now, she didn't say let Ed do whatever he wants, just out of the blue. She knew I was advocating for a system. She knew I saw something that didn't really match up with why this person shouldn't be in this transitional housing, and she had the power to make that decision. She had the power to make that decision, but she doesn't have the lane to bring it up. She's got a job to do. This person's got a job to do. Everybody's got a job to do, and that's the only job they can do. But see, here where advocacy comes in is that we can get in the middle of any of it. And when they're glad to see you coming because you're advocating for a system, everybody wins. I got so much. I got so much to offer. I'm worth your time and energy. And the hardest thing I've ever had to do, the hardest thing I've ever had to do is stand up for myself when I really don't even care. I don't care. I'm alive. I'm well. Some of us wonder how we even made it this far. If we're even worthy of making this far, why? How? Like Dave Ramsey says, I am better than I deserve. It's gonna, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get more fluid. This show is gonna grow. I'm gonna keep talking. It's a little awkward right now, but that's okay. I heard a while back somebody come on and said, "We don't need your polished show. We need your we need your awkwardness right now." And that's the encouragement. That's that last piece of encouragement I needed to stand up and just be awkward. I'm Eddie, and I'm out for now.